Hi, I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy. This is the second to the last video in my Resilience series, where I focus on obstacles to recovery and strengths that will move us forward. And the obstacle I'm focusing on in this video is bitterness. Even when I say bitterness, it tastes bitter almost, and it makes your face into a bitter face. Bitterness is something that comes at us from all directions, and sometimes it comes from inside, and it is poisonous. Bitterness is all over the internet, right? Including on some of the comments on my YouTube channel. You just don't see all of them because I just take those out so they don't hurt people. You probably know a few people who are stuck in bitterness, or I hope not, but maybe you are there yourself. So this is an obstacle to healing, and I want to talk about it. I'll remind you what bitterness looks like, how to know if you're doing it, and when we get to the part of the video where I talk about the strength that you'll need to overcome bitterness, I'll tell you my secret philosophy that's helped me get out of that bad place time and time again. So what bitterness is a frame of mind that some person or institution is bad, or people are stupid, or some category of people are bad and stupid or uncaring, and that the world is no good and people like me are their target. And you know what? There are times and places where for some people this is tragically all too true. We know from history that terrible things can happen. You may have heard me talk about some friends who survived a sudden attack in their town by hundreds of people who also lived in their town. The attackers came with knives, they trapped people in buildings and lit them on fire, and hundreds of people were killed. And these two families who were friends of mine survived, but in each of the families, one of their children was severely injured and went through literally years of hospitalization and painful treatments in burn centers, and eventually dozens of surgeries, all while the family could never go home again, had lost all their belongings, their businesses, their communities, and then, in order to get better medical treatment for the kids, the families had to split up, and each child traveled with their mother to the United States. And the fathers and other siblings, they were young kids, they had to stay behind with no home or income. And they were separated for like 5 years. They had it hard. And if anyone might have turned bitter legitimately, it's these friends of mine. But they are anything but bitter. They hate what happened to them, and they've had to work hard to just deal with the reality that such evil could just spring up and destroy lives in this way. But you know what? Their hearts are full of love and gratitude. They are these solid, positive people who talk all the time about how to bring more good into the world. Now, these particular friends, their trauma is different maybe than mine or yours, and their lives in Kenya, it was no cakewalk, but the traumas never involved parents turning their backs on kids. Now, during tough times, their instinct was to help each other and stick together, not attack and blame each other. And these particular parents went over the top to go get their families back together and keep their kids feeling safe and loved and help them walk a positive path in life. It's been a huge blessing to me to know these families so that I could just learn firsthand how people can overcome terrible events that, God willing, I will never have to experience myself. I'm putting a link in the description section, by the way, to a book written by the father in one of those families about what happened and how they survived it. He's a really good man. He's a good dad. His name is Peter Mbuthia. And if you want to learn about his story, that link down there will take you to his book on Amazon. So my friends mitigated the effects of this terrible trauma through a very strong love and coherence around their families. That's not something I had growing up, and I know many of you didn't either. And when you don't have that, traumas a lot smaller than what they went through can do just as much damage. It can break down your body, it can break down your soul, and if you get stuck there either waiting for your family to change and give you that love, or getting stuck in bitterness that this love never seems to come, then healing can be impossible. So bitterness sometimes is better than despair because at least we're pointing it outside ourselves. But happiness can't exist alongside bitterness. And life has a tendency to get very small when we're bitter. I've had some periods of real bitterness about what happened in my family. And the fact that even after the crazy drama people are long gone, the surviving family members don't want to be in touch, or not with me anyway. And I couldn't really tell you why. Any way that I try to explain it ever, it just starts tipping over again into bitterness, and I don't want to go there. I mean, what's the point, right? And so fairly early on in my healing process, I made a decision to let go of the ideal picture of how they should be. They should be proud of me. They should stay in touch. They should appreciate how far I've come. And it's all true on one level, but it's not true. It's just not how things are. And me being wrapped up in that dynamic was keeping me from enjoying all kinds of goodness that was around me, even when my life was hard and I was mostly alone in the world. When you open up to appreciate the good, it changes you in that moment. You're open. People find something lovely in you and they are drawn to you. And a bitter person is more like a locked door. You want people to come in, but they can't. So sometimes things are so hard that you can't open the door. And yet we need to open the door, even when it's scary, to allow in the good. And if you can't do it today, then set your sights on it. Keep trying. And as soon as you can, starting with little things, exchange your bitterness for the acknowledgement of the good that is already in your life. When I was in Kenya, I went to towns where the roads were made of this slippery mud, and driving and walking it was almost impossible. You took your life into your hands. So I started with asphalt. I am so grateful to live where there are paved roads and clean water and nobody trying to burn my house down. I imagine some of you want to set me straight and tell me that your case is worse and I don't understand, but I'm telling you, no matter what has happened in the past, you always have the power to do this, even only a little bit, to just bring your attention back to what is good. Not everything is good, I know that, but start with one thing that is good and experience just a little bit of ease as you let that in. Now remember, being grateful doesn't mean you put up with abuse or accept unacceptable situations. But if you're going to be protected from harm, you're going to need strength. And part of where that comes from is to know what's good. And if you keep seeking out and appreciating what's good, you eventually become a connoisseur. So choosing bitterness, on the other hand, that makes you all too good at noticing what's wrong. And then the abuser has won. We don't have to let that happen, not so long as we're above ground and able to see and hear and notice good. Now, you might feel scared or resistant to losing your bitterness, like it's some kind of protection from disappointment or from people trying to take advantage of you. And in this case, I'll point you to all the other videos in this resilience series about how to deal with all the complications of being open to experience in life. Now, just in case you're thinking, this is all easy for you to say, Anna, you don't know what I went through, I'd say first, it was worse for me than I talk about in these videos. And B, who cares? We still are all in need of healing. Me too. One little thing sets me off and bang, I'm back in that bitterness thinking that everyone is doing this to me. But I know the drill. I notice it's happening. I stop. I use my tools to release all that extra emotion and bring my reasoning mind back online so I can think and feel and see reality. Reality is great because when you can see it, you can decide what to do. And this is something I talk about and I teach you how to do in the Healing Childhood PTSD course. And if that's something you want to learn, there's a link below where you can get all the details and register right now if you want. I'd love to have you in the course, or even better, in the membership program I run, and there's a link for that down there too. You get access to all my courses. So if you're feeling bitter and you're ready, when you develop the strength we call gratitude, what fills your life is hope. Not just, I hope I don't end up alone all my life, but a total and permeating sense of hope that whatever happens, you'll figure out what to do. You are needed here in this world. Your love, your gifts are making a difference here, and we need more of that. We need you. So be brave with your healing and with your heart, because I promise when your childhood PTSD gets better, everything is possible.